Welcome everybody to another episode of the Lunch Table Podcast, and in this video we're going to give you our review for Loki episode 8, now streaming on Disney Plus, the season 2 finale. My goodness, what a eventful and impactful season finale that is. We got a lot to talk about, so stick with us. Dylan, without further ado, why don't you start us off?
My face is like Loki at the end of the episode. It's like a tear.
I swear.
Holy crap, dude. That was such a good episode and a great closer too, man. I feel like this is going to be the end for this show. It just ended on such a high note. I actually almost don't want it to have another season just because it ended so good.
Yeah.
But who knows? They left it on kind of like an open-ended note with Loki's future. But my God, the writing was so good. And it reminded me so much of this one episode of Doctor Who where like he goes like back and forth through time to like he keeps going further back in time to like fix his mistakes. How far back could you go to find the root of the problem? And it's kind of like a snake eating its own tail in this episode. It's like no matter what Loki does, it always comes back to Kang, and it's always like this problem. It's never ending. He has to either kill Sylvie or let Kang die, and then there's a plethora of problems that it's like the illusion of choice. It's like even if you think you go down one path, it just leads to a whole plethora of problems. But I love that it was so well written in this episode. But let's get your thoughts on it.
Yeah, for sure. I completely agree. And again, the main point was like Kang, in a way, this war was going to happen since the beginning, and a lot of the problems was created by Kang, like that whole machine and everything like that. So it was really cool to see Loki take the reins and actually carve out his own story. He knows what he actually has to do. And I just love the Nordic symbology here. Loki's final costume, amazing. It looked archaic. It brought similarities from Kang, like the He Who Remains costume. We see at the end Idrisil, and again, Ouroboros, since the beginning, or like Jormungandr, another name for it. It's like really awesome job what they're doing. And I bet Loki's father would be absolutely proud. Yeah, because now Loki's father is like, oh, my son Thor, what a bum. It's like my other son. He's like creating life. It's like crazy.
Well, even the title of the episode, Glorious Purpose, I thought was so appropriate given that, we're always told that every Loki's set up to lose, right? So in a way, it's funny because Loki did kind of have to lose to win in a way. He had to let the loom kind of like take over and let nature take its course. But in a way, by sacrificing himself for this greater purpose, it's like he became, instead of becoming a king like he always wanted to be, he became a god, like a true god. He became like almost omnipotent. So I think it's just so appropriate given Loki's, history with failure, and now to be reformed and to be honest with himself and to see that, even when we watched the recap of like him from like Avengers 1 and then seeing this new character that we have now, it's total 100% transformation. And kudos to Tom Hiddleston. I think he did a phenomenal performance, and just memorizing all those like little like scientific lines that they had to have at least a couple of takes just doing that. So phenomenal job.
Yeah, absolutely. It's sort of weird now just trying to rewatch Thor Ragnarok or something like that and knowing what happens in the future. It's really a sight to behold how much character transformation has Loki gone through. I think season 2, like this episode, completely complements season 1, all the stuff that's happening. I do wish, and I'll mention this more in our season 2 review, I kind of wish sometimes that he revisited certain versions of Loki, like I don't know, like maybe like Thor 1 Loki or something like that. It's a little like twist or something here or there. But of course, that's not necessary. But it's just completely awesome to see that, because Loki's that character where he had to rely on a lot of people in the past, albeit, for example, Thanos's army, this and that. And for this, I think this finale was so powerful because, like you said, let nature take its course. But in a way, he made it go faster to take his course, right? And so he just took away the rings completely and handled it himself. And it just shows how powerful of a god he really is, and how intelligent he is as well. And of course, he's the god of mischief. So now he's the god of, or Loki the
Complete
storyteller.
chaos, I guess now.
Yeah, what if that's actually just like a bad ending? It was like everything's like chaotic
After
and stuff.
all that, yeah.
Yeah, I do have questions. Like there's a lot of teases of what happened in different movies. Without spoilers, we'll talk about that like later on. But you know how you see like in certain movies, for example, Spider-Man No Way Home, where Tom Hardy's character Eddie Brock leaves. Like I wonder if there's still going to be some multiversal stuff. We do have Deadpool. I heard some rumors about Secret Wars starring or leads with Hugh Jackman and Tobey Maguire. I think that still will take its course. What are your thoughts on Loki actually being the one who remains now? Is it that, you know, it's still ever expanding, or is he just there really to stop Kang in his tracks?
Well, that's why I said they kind of left it on an open-ended cliffhanger. I mean, we didn't even get an end credit scene in this show, which I was actually surprised about. Probably when we cover the Marvels, we'll talk more about like what's in store for like the future. But I mean, as for now, I think it's just a good finisher just for Loki as it is. And yeah, it was probably just to, you know, resolve the whole Kang Loom conflict. But for sure, I think it's a stepping stone for, you know, what we could see perhaps for Kang Dynasty or for Secret Wars or, you know, the future. I mean, it's literally the future is like infinite. Like Victor Timely says, it's like you can't stop it. So I love that Loki's in such a good place as a character now that he could be whatever he wants to be. He could either continue this path of being a good person, albeit almost like I said, an omnipotent, you know, being, right? He's so powerful, he's even more powerful than the Asgardians now. Or he could even go, you know, the other route where like he still is kind of like mischievous in a way. So it's like he still became the god of mischief, but like he's just more like more powerful now. So I love that you know, the MCU kind of did justice to his character.
Yeah, and I think to be mischievous is like also to be in that state of mind, even if you inherit that from birth. I think you have to have some sort of freedom, and that's why, you know, Sylvie's all about even if she's like kind of radical with her ideal of like freedom, like, you know, let everybody else die or whatever if everyone's still free. I feel like that suits Loki so much just to be in that space. He can truly be comfortable. I remember Mobius brought up something that you're never comfortable in the first place, but I feel like Loki's, you know, he's the next level of a type of guy where he can maybe not be comfortable, but he can take it, right? I mean, it's as if he was born for this. And so I think it's a really beautiful way to end things until maybe next time we see him.
Well, I remember a quote that Kang said in this episode. He said he's the one that has to make the hard decision. That's why he's in the big chair. And then it called me back to the previous episode one of the previous episodes where Loki was talking to Sylvie and is like, well, we are gods in a way, so we kind of have to make these hard choices in order for the greater good. So I think it is appropriate that Loki actually stepped up and became the next He Who Remains. In a way, he is the better Loki than Sylvie, because Sylvie only thinks about, you know, herself or probably like just like the instant ramification. But I think Loki sees the bigger picture like Kang, but he does it in his own way where like it can kind of work for everybody in a way. But
yeah. Absolutely. If I was him though, still, if he has some scorn left over with Sylvie, I probably would change all the McDonald's to Red Lobsters, and then she would be like, "I don't want to work at Red Lobsters," or something like that.
Make that bitch life harder.
Yeah. Like, but what did you think of Mobius actually returning back to his family?
I think it's appropriate for his character. I thought maybe he was gonna like, I don't know, be the next, like, instead of being like an accountant guy, like be like the chair, like Renslayer's job, like he would have taken that post. But I think it was appropriate because throughout this season, he's always kind of denied himself the pleasure of experiencing his life. So I think this was a fitting end for him to kind of like come to terms with that, where it's like he's done pretty much everything he can do, and I think he's in a place where he knows the TVA is in good hands. So they don't really need like a guy like him anymore. And then, you know, he has his family. So I think he wants to kind of go back to that and start experiencing, like he said, like, what is this life that I'm working so hard to protect? You know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then we also get a quick shot of Ouroboros, Obi, having new books too, different color. I wish it was green, to be honest. Like I wish the covers were
like our lunch table color.
Yeah, it was the lunch table. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So I guess he updated it, and that's really sweet to see. And it does seem like they're wrapping, or at least trying to pick up the pieces with Kang. We did see Victor Timely, like when he was a child, and a book doesn't get thrown in through the window. So it seems like they're trying to rectify this war too, to help out a little bit any way they can. But I think it'll probably come to no avail because we still have the Kang dynasty, of course. So yeah, I mean, overall, really beautiful. We get Ravonna. She ends up in that place and she gets eaten by the
Alioth,
yeah. Right, exactly. Yeah. Which is crazy too. It's interesting they showed a shot of this pyramid, and I wonder if that's some sort of Easter egg. I gotta look out for that a little bit later, since we just watched this. But overall, I think if this is the end of Loki as a Disney Plus exclusive series, I think it ended in a great note. I hope that they don't fumble the bag later. And I hope we could see Tom Hiddleston return. And if he doesn't, hey, I mean, this was, again, another great way to end a character's like journey through time. What would you rate Loki episode 8?
For sure. I'd probably give it unbiasedly. If I had to look back at it a couple weeks from now, I think I would still deem it pretty high up there. So I'd probably give it 10 out of 10. I think everything just worked really well. I think it was very successful. Also, just talking about it like stylistically, like we always talk about the color grading for the show.
Right.
It's so beautifully crafted. Even just like the design of like the TVA and like the graphics and everything. It's such a show that I can look at it and know that it's Loki. Like apart from like the other MCU shows. So I think everything works really well for it. So yeah, 10 out of 10 for me.
Absolutely. I agree completely. Ditto. I'm not going to waste anybody else's time. But for sure, this is such a great show. If you guys love Loki, well, check out our Marvels.
For all time,
always. For all time, always, everybody. We have a Marvels review coming out pretty soon. After this episode, we also have a Loki Season 2 review. It's kind of sad to put this in our catalog and kind of say goodbye, but it's been good while it lasted. So if you guys stay to the end of this video, please drop a like. And so Dylan, take us away.
Yes, guys, thank you so much. Thank you for sticking around for this series and this review. I hope you guys will check out more of our content. Let us know what you thought of this episode and what you'd like to see for the rest of Loki's future or the MCU. But yeah, thank you guys so much. And until then, thanks for having lunch with us.
See you guys.